FirstAm IgniteRE, first thing I'm gonna do for you, if you guys want access to this, we can make, as Reagan said, we can make that happen. When you go to get into the platform, one of the nicest things about IgniteRE, it's all self-service. So once we send you an invitation and you guys register for IgniteRE, then you will create your own username and password. Those will then be what we call your Eagle ID login credentials that you have to multi-factor for. So it's that extra layer of security. And the good news is if you forget your username or your password, there are self-service links right here in the login screen where you, as long as you have your email address that's associated with the account, you can get your username. And then once you've got that username, then you can go in and you can reset your password. So just right out the gate, it's just one of those pieces of functionality that it makes it nice. Our past tech, you guys would get locked out. We'd have to reset you. So this is just a much more streamlined version. So that's how you'll get into the application. Don't watch me really fast. We as employees have demo accounts. So how I log into here is different than you. So once you're into the application, this is what it looks like. You'll land on what we call the dashboard. The dashboard basically just lays out each of the 6 applications that live inside of IgniteRE. Over here on the left navigation, you can see all of those applications, but here on the dashboard, you can make a selection and select any one of them as your default. If you select one of them as your default, then every time you log in, it'll land you right in that application if you know that's the one that you're going to use all of the time. You don't have to have a default. You can land in the dashboard and choose where you go next. Makes no difference. A couple of things in the framework just to call out. Over here, you can see an FAQ and contact support on the dashboard, but from any screen in FirstAm IgniteRE up here in the top right-hand corner, there's a little question mark. We have a full set of FAQs around every application inside of IgniteRE where you can really, it's self-serve. Again, we've really tried to make this as self-serve as possible for all of our customers so that if you're working in evenings and weekends when your sales staff or escrow staff isn't around, that you still have the ability to get answers to any questions as you're walking through the application. So just know that those exist up here in this top right-hand corner. There's also a way to provide feedback. So once you guys get in and start working in the application, whether it's farming, whether it's marketing, whatever that is, we highly recommend sharing your feedback. So if you find that there's something in the system that, man, I really love this, but I wish it could do this too. Maybe, for instance, the business cards. I'm going to show you in marketing where you can create business cards in this app, in the marketing application. I don't think they're as nice and as fancy, Liz, as the ones that you had, but again, it's just another way for you to upscale what we have and the products that we offer. So we are always listening to our customers and really trying to improve this overall platform from your feedback. So just always like to make sure I call that out because we want to make sure that if there is something that you think could make the experience better, please share that with us. The product tour, don't waste your time on it. I'm going to give you more of a product tour today than what this product tour here is going to give you. So you should be in good shape. All right, so we're going to start off here, and I'm just going to run down through these. I know Amy and I connected to make sure what I wanted to make sure I hit the things that I think you guys will be the most helpful for you in your day to day. With transactions, the one thing that you can do in transactions, as realtors, you can work transactions. When you open up escrows at First American, you can work in here to electronically communicate with escrow staff on files. However, a lot of folks don't love having to go into a different system and not email out of their Outlook or their Gmail accounts. You can still, I shouldn't say, you still will email out of those accounts, but or you still can, but really for you guys with transactions, the only thing I want to focus on here is this new transaction button. If you guys decide that you're ever going to work in transactions with your escrow staff, then we'll get you some additional training in that space. Too many rabbit holes to go down today. But what I want to make sure you guys are familiar with is this new transaction button. You can open up new electronic orders right here in IgniteRE that will get routed to whichever Wisconsin escrow branch that you want. So from here, we try to make it as easy as possible where you literally can just go in and enter an address. I'm just going to pick a random one here. I don't know why it's taking me to Louisiana. Let's go here. Let's go. See if I can actually get my fingers to type on the right keys. It would be very helpful. I have a hard time talking and typing at the same time. All right, there we go. I was going to pull this one in. So you basically have to enter in a property. Once you enter in a property, all you have to do is then select your role. So are you the buyer's agent or are you the seller's agent? And then the transaction type. Is it a sale with mortgage, a sale with cash? Is it most of the time for you guys on the real estate, most these are other ones that would be more open, that a lender would use. So yours will probably be either sale with mortgage or sale with cash. And then your property type, most of the time it's going to be a single family residence, but again, you've got the other property types available. So again, property information, transaction information, and then the last one that you have to actually enter before you can submit. If you'll notice the submit button is grayed out. Do you have a signed purchase contract for this transaction? Yes. Okay. Then you just have to basically tell us, do you want title and escrow service, title only or escrow only? In some areas we do listing prelims, so you could do a title only. In some areas we have escrow only, but for you guys, I think in Wisconsin, you'll be primarily title and escrow. If you'll watch, as soon as I select that title and escrow button, my submit button activates. From here, there's just two other items. If you have an escrow officer that you work with on a regular basis, and that's who you want this order to go to, you would just enter that name in here. It will retain this for future orders, but it's always editable. And then any other additional information that they want to add with the order can be entered in here. And then the goal here is to just upload your documentation. So if you have a cover letter that has all the details of the buyer, seller, agents, lender, upload that document. Do not spend the time going down here. Can you enter it all in the form? Yes, you can. But if you've got it already that you've generated out of your system, then just upload the document. You can upload up to 5 documents in a PDF, doc, JPEG, or TIFF image, any type of file. 13 megabytes is your max file size, which should cover most any contract that you need to upload. And then any other supporting documents that would be helpful for your escrow staff to know when you open up an escrow. Once you've added those documents and saved them, then it's literally as easy as just submitting that order. And then once an order is submitted, you'll be able to see that submitted order here under the submitted tab. For you, it'll always show which side of the transaction you're representing based on that selection you made when you sent the order in. And then it'll plug in the address. When you created that, the file status will initially be pending, but it'll go to open. Probably by the time right now we got to the screen, yours would go to open and it will assign an escrow number and that escrow officer that you entered in the order. That happens automatically. Mine all still say pending because I'm in my employee environment, but yours will go to open immediately. And then you'll be able to kind of follow that file status. And then the activity over here, you'll end up seeing a little document with a red notifier that when your title product is done, you're able to pull your title product from here. So whether it's a commitment for title insurance prelim, I'm not sure what you guys call it in Wisconsin, but nonetheless, you will be able to see that title product here from that submitted order. Now, you won't be able to communicate any further with your escrow staff through here, but you still can get on the phone, email them all the normal ways while you're processing the transaction. This just gives you a way, let's say you're trying to get out the door on vacation, maybe you couldn't get that order dropped off at the office before, you can get in and open that order electronically with First American. Any questions on transactions before we move into properties?
Yeah, really quick, Christine.
Sure.
Let's say one of our agents uses a transaction coordinator.
Uh-huh.
Is there a way for the transaction coordinator to open this transaction and tie it back to another agent?
Yeah, we can get the transaction coordinator in IgniteRE account. So basically, what's nice about it is escrow can create the relationship with the agent and the TC, and then the TC would be given their own set of login where they can register and log in to IgniteRE, and then as long as escrow creates that relationship with that TC will be able to see every file that anybody that she's connected to as far as an agent goes, she'd be able to see that in here, but then she would have full access to open whatever order she wants to for anybody.
Okay, cool. Would that then
Yep.
be reflected back to the agent's profile?
If they're entered as the agent, yes. And as long as whatever supporting document that the TC would upload when they open the order had that person as the agent, then yes, it would actually they would be able to then see that. They won't be able to see, here's the difference. And this for transactions is two-part. And I don't want to get too deep down the rabbit hole because there are a lot of other things I want to be able to show you guys today. But with the opened and closed transactions, this is for our real estate agents. So this is where if you had a TC opening new orders electronically, all you're going to see in here is just the actual order, not all of the processing of the order. Like for instance, let me flip over to this really quickly, just so I can give you one more visual of what this looks like. 1 second. So actually, I should have actually waited one. Let me go back to this one. Okay, so when you guys are invited into IgniteRE, you're going to get an email that looks just like this one or very similar to it, and you're going to click to register for your new account. Once you accept our end user license agreement, then it will walk you through the registration process. You do have to do an email verification. They'll send you a text message or call you. Once you verify that code that's entered, then you will be able to enter in all of your details. Now, Amy, when I'll work with Amy to get you guys set up. So all of these details should already flow in here. You would just need to make any updates if any of the information isn't correct, or add any information that's not there, and then how you want your email preferences. Now, once you actually then create your username and password, you're creating your own, then you'll sign in. Once you're in transactions in FirstAm IgniteRE, if you want to be able to work your transactions with your escrow staff, then you can have those transactions connected in where you can see any open files that you have or any closed transactions that you've closed at First American. But unless you request that specifically, then you're only going to have the functionality to open up new orders and see those submitted orders here in transactions. So again, we can talk more about that as we go. Working open and closed transactions here really relies upon the escrow staff also that is handling your transaction, because if you guys are going to work through transactions, what we call our transactions portal, we need to make sure that our escrow staff is communicating with you guys that way too. So for right now, Reagan, I would probably focus on a TC opening up new orders, but then still function as you do in your day-to-day with communicating with the escrow staff, and really just using this more for the opening of the new orders versus the processing of the orders right now.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Okay, absolutely. Okay, let's jump back over to here, and then let's jump into properties. So properties is a way to be able to gain all of the property insights that you need. Let's say if you get a phone call for a new listing, you want to get in, you want to confirm ownership and all the kind of details around that property to prepare yourself to go on that listing appointment. With properties, I'm actually in, I jumped in earlier, just make sure I'm actually in Madison. And so you can, as you'll see, this is big map of the whole country, of the state you'll focus in on. You can zoom in and out. There are map layers, so you can see a satellite version. If you don't like the satellite version, you can remove it. You can see ownership labels. You can add additional labels to the lots. It starts getting a little bit much when you add too many map layers. So I just want to really quickly show you, you can come in and you can search for a specific address. So if you knew that this was the address you were going to go on your listing appointment, you could plug in the address and it'll point you right to that property on the map. Okay. Give it just a second to load. So it'll put a pin on that in the map. You can even zoom in and really see the aerial of the property there. Now over here to the left, you're going to see the property card. It's going to give you all the basic information regarding that property, as far as the address, the county, the APN, year built, square footage, beds and baths. Here below, this order title and escrow button, if you click this, that means you're going to go back over into transactions and get you right into that order form. A lot of cross integration in between the applications in IgniteRE also. So we're trying to, if you're in one application, oh my gosh, searching a property, then you can automatically go in and do other things directly from that property. So if this one you wanted to place an order, you could click here, take you into transactions. This calculate button will take you over into our calculators application, which is an application that's used for net sheets. And I think you guys may use another application or have one there, but I'll briefly show you that one that'll be the last one we look at before we wrap up. But it also has school attendance zones, which a lot of folks love this because it'll actually bring it up on the map and it'll show you the K through 5, 6 through 8, and 9 through 12, the high schools, the middle schools, the elementary schools, and others in that school district. Down below, you'll see lots of reports. So there's a combined report that will bring all of these other ones into one record. However, you can get into them individually. So if you click into the property detail, that will be just that. It's going to give you even more details around all of that property, or around that, all of the details around that property in a nice little packaged up report. Okay, shows you who the current owner is. Oops, goodness, I didn't mean to highlight the whole thing. Their mailing address and property address. Just so you know, everything in this application, when we talk about absentee owners or non-owner occupied, the indicator is when the mailing address does not match the property address, just so you're aware. It's not like someone's filed something and said this is an investment property. It's just if their mailing address doesn't match the actual property address, then it's considered a non-owner occupied property. Gives you all the property characteristics, sale and loan information. And then one of the nicest things here is you see here where this is a hyperlink. Not only can you do it in transaction detail and property detail, you'll be able to, when we get into the recorded history, you'll be able to see all of the recorded documents for this house. So this and your sale and loan information is always going to give you your most current vesting deed. So you can physically click on that link and it takes you right into that recorded document from the county. So you can pull a copy of this, you can include it in packages again when you're going to meet with folks, or just put it in your file. But it's a good way to confirm that whoever you're meeting with is actually the owner of record. Sorry, this is taking a minute to build. Just a second. Should be able to see what it looks like as long as it doesn't stall out on me. Close some of this other stuff up here. Well, looks like it's stalling on me. Let's go back and do some. Let's do a different one. I don't want to take up too much of our time, but then it also provides tax information. So you can see the taxes there too. Now that was the property detail. Once you've actually opened a report, it'll turn green like that. You can go into each one of these individually. The transaction history, this is where it's going to give you all of that transaction history, where you'll have hyperlinks to get into each of those recorded documents that were in connection with this property. Scroll down, here you go. So there's a release that was filed. Here's that recorded document that I was just trying to access. Let me try if I click it from here, if it moves any faster for us, but never fails. So slow. And then when you're demoing, good grief. Keeps getting hung up there. Let me try one more. Let's try this release and see if it moves any faster. Sorry, guys. It really does open up the recorded document from the county, I promise. A lot of times when I'm sharing my screen too, it just slows everything down. So I apologize. At least this one's still moving. Just keeps getting about halfway and then stops. All right.
We believe you.
I know. I'm like, just to stay on track for time, let's keep moving. But just know the one thing I do want to call out is when you guys get in the first time and you click on a recorded a hyperlink like this, you will get a pop-up blocker from our site for the first time. It'll come up here onto the right side of your URL. All you have to do is click on the accept pop-ups from this site always, and then you'll never have any issues opening up any of these recorded documents going forward. Okay. So there's all your transaction history. There's also comparable sales. As realtors, you guys probably have, whether you're using MLS, whatever system you're using for comparable sales, know that this is just another option for you where you can go in and pull the comparable sales. It also has filtering where you can refine and really tell the system what type of, what the distance is that you want to look in, or what the, bedrooms, bathrooms. So you do have the ability to refine the search results for those comparable sales here. here by adjusting any of the filters around those comps that you're looking for. And then foreclosure information, if there's a foreclosure filed on the property here, it'll actually pull the document in. If there's no foreclosure filing, then it'll just show as not available. HOA contact, this one's kind of hit and miss. In some areas across the across the country, there are associations that are required to record something with their management information, and in a lot of areas there's not. So in a lot of areas you're not going to get anything there. But then the school information, it'll always show the public schools and then any school within a 5-mile radius. So again, if you're working with customers or clients that have kids at school age, this is nice because it'll give you all of the elementary schools based on the area that you're searching, and then all of the private schools within that 5-mile radius. And then neighbors, the neighbors around the house. Okay. So then each of these reports that pull up, so this one loads quickly. Again, just neighbors, all the neighbors around the property.
NFL is owned by the Green Bay Packers. It's pretty special as a kid to watch.
Oh, I don't know if we were supposed to hear that, Steve.
Nope. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. Just didn't, I was like, did I miss something or was that her question? Okay, no good. All good. No worries. All right. So then with each of these individual reports, you can get into them individually, but then you can also come here into the combined report, which will bring in all of these reports into one packaged up pretty report. Now right here at the top, you see the little icon, this is a filtering icon. So with the filtering icon, again, this will bring in everything for you. Now let's say that you don't want everything. You can click on the little filtering icon and you can include only what you want included. So for instance, there was no HOA information, so remove that. There was no foreclosure information, remove that. Maybe you don't care necessarily about the neighbors, or you don't need to show them the last finance document, maybe just the last transfer document. So you can manage how you combine each of those reports into one and then generate the report. Now, the only thing is with properties, it's branded for First American. It's our, information down at the bottom of the form that goes out to them, or that, that you would print out, but nonetheless, it has all of that detail there for you. Now, one other thing that I want to show you with properties that's kind of a newer feature is, let's say you have somebody that wants to, I remember seeing a golf course here, or maybe it was a school. Let's say you want someone who wants to back a school or a golf course or something. I'm not sure what this is right here, but we'll pick this. So you've got a customer or client that has a very specific need of where they want to live. Sometimes it may be, they want to be within walking distance of a school, or they want to back a golf course, or they want to be on the water. This little boundary search tool, see this little pencil icon over here to the right? This pencil icon allows you to do what we call a boundary search. So let's say, again, whether this was a school or whatever this is, that this person that you're working with wants to be located next to this property. I just kind of goofed that line, but nonetheless, you can take this boundary search tool and it will identify exactly where you have drawn that on the map. Now, if you'll notice, you see green circles, those are owner occupied. You see blue circles, those are absentee or non-owner occupied, okay? And again, remember, difference is the mailing address. You'll also see red dots when it's a foreclosure property. So you can get in here, when you draw this boundary search, it can include up to 999 properties. Once you hit that 1,000 mark, it won't allow you to do anything more with it. You'd have to draw a separate boundary for that additional area. But this gives you a very nice way of, to identify a specific area. If you'll notice right here, there's an 81% owner occupancy, there's a 4% turnover in the area. And again, this is just the area that you have marked and drawn with that pencil. So it allows you to really focus in on a specific area that your customer is looking for. And then again, the blue and the green dots, same indicator here when you look in the list, but then you can also come over here and now you can filter these options. So if you know they want a house around this specific area and their max sales price is 500,000, you can apply a filter and it'll pull out the ones that don't fall under the filters that you've applied, or you know that they need a minimum of 3 bedrooms or a minimum of 2 bathrooms. You can add all those filters, and then once you apply those filters, it will make the update and filtered. You can see here it filtered 89 of the 93 properties. So just 4 of the properties that we had in that original list were over that $500,000 threshold. So again, just another way. And then for you to surface when you're looking for properties for your customers, you can also save these searches by simply clicking on that little floppy disk icon. You can name it whatever you want. It'll always, if you overlap, it'll just always call it multiple cities and however many properties. And then once you save it, you'll be able to come up here and see your saved areas. So that was just one I had saved earlier this morning when I was testing everything to make sure we were good to go. You can always open that search back up. It'll open right up into the original area that you drew, along with all of the folks that were included in that area. These notes, you can also add notes. So when you're in properties, in that search that I just looked at, if I went in here to this and I thought, okay, well, this particular property right here, they're really interested in, I could come in here and you see how it has add note. You can add notes right here. Perfect property for my buyer. Okay. And then so you can save those notes and then you can go back in and kind of walk through all of the notes that you added around each of those properties too. So just an easy way for you guys to surface the results and then save those and add any notes that you want to. Recorded document search, you can also come in here and you can search for recorded documents, but I will tell you after the last 3 years of working in this platform, if you're looking for a recorded document that's specific to a property, I highly recommend searching the property and then going into that transaction history, like I showed you, and click on the recorded document link that way. The cross-referencing, a lot of the times, if you don't have the sequencing of the numbering just perfect, sometimes it won't pull in the actual document for you. And then don't ever worry about this order history because you guys aren't in an area where you have to worry about, these are through like customer service. So no worries there. You can ignore that one. And that's pretty much it for properties. And again, you can zoom in on the map. You can plug in a property address, whatever is easier for you guys. You can change your map layers. If you don't like the satellite and you prefer this look and feel, you can do that also. So any questions on any of that? Before we move over to farming? Oh,
I think we're good. Yeah.
okay. All right, cool. Farming. So farming is really the one. I'm going to end up putting in your chat a QR code that has like, I don't know, almost 20 videos around farming. Farming is really the sweet spot for you guys because this is basically a lead generation tool. So with farming, this is also the most robust application in this platform is farming. So you can get in here and there are about 100 different ways that you can surface new leads for you in your business. So you can focus in on a specific area and then a couple of different ways you can do it. You can, let's say you know that you just want that they're looking for something on the south side of Madison. You could drop a pin and you could expand that. It's what we call a radius search. It's just a circle. So it's not going to be specific to like a subdivision or a very defined area. It's just going to be a radius search. Now, your next option, which people find a little bit more helpful, is the boundary search. And with the boundary search, you can drop exact pins. So if you knew your customer wanted to be south of this highway, north of this highway, you could come in and you could drop pins to make whatever, oops, I lost, there we go, whatever area you want to designate to look at houses for them. Or I say for them. Or if this is an area that you think is kind of a hot area right now, and this is an area that you want to start focusing in on marketing, here's a perfect example where you can focus in and come into farming and really get a look at what's going on in this area. So that's a boundary search, okay? The next one is the area search. And an area search, rather than pointing pins on a map, you would actually come in and you would search here by state, where you could break it down, by county, and then by city. You can get as granular as picking one zip code, multiple zip codes, completely, what again, however you want to narrow down what you're trying to search. Once you do that and you get into that, oh goodness, let me take that one out of there. I know there's plenty of them in Madison. Excuse me. Once it goes out and now it's searching for all of the homes in Madison, the city of Madison. This should be a pretty big result that it's going to return. That's why it's going to take a moment. An agent's never going to want to market an entire city, most likely, because it's going to be too large, too many people that you're trying to touch. Okay, yeah, 74,000. We're not going to send out 74,000 postcards to anyone. So here's where, once you identify that kind of area that you want to focus in on, now we're going to add more filtering criteria. And here's where you can go in and you can narrow down by, again, only want to see properties with bedrooms equal to, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. So you can make different adjustments there also. So if I want to see ones with greater than or equal to 3 bedrooms, that way I'll see everything with 3 and above. Bathrooms, I could do greater than or equal to 2. Okay, so let's do 2. And then once I've added that filter, I can come back over here and I can get my count again. And let's see that 74,000, what that number goes to. So again, you can see where you can continue adding filters upon filters upon filters to really drill in, whether it's the size of the house, whether it's the square footage, whether it's the land size that it sits on, whether it's the year built, whether it's only owner occupancy, owner occupied properties. So now we took that 74,000 and we've gotten it down to 37,000. Still way too large of a group. So from here, I could continue adding additional filters, again, like lot size or the actual square footage of the house, if we wanted to make sure that the square footage was over 2,500. Okay, so again, you can just see how you can continue getting more and more granular to narrow down that search. Now we're down to 8,600. Okay, if we went up to 4,000 here, trying to get a little bit more reasonable number so I can then show you next steps. There we go. There's 969. Still a lot, but then the last one we could come in and actually here, again, you've got assessment and taxes, lots of other fields. There's additional fields down below that you can always expand open to also in each one of these fields, where you could filter by subdivision and like just a specific subdivision. You can do it by legal description, by, if you wanted to look at all of the people, like an investor that you are working with and you want to see every property that they own in Wisconsin, you can do it by owner's name. So lots of different ways that you can add additional filters. This owner occupied filter, I'm going to go ahead and turn that on, and let's see out of that 969, how many of them are owner occupied. 771. So we're down to 771. Now, I showed you the taxes and the other. Now the other, these are just some mail carrier routes. So different ways to sort and get more details. Then you have the custom filters. The custom filters really allow you to get a little bit deeper, like the next seller. This is basically going to take, let's say I've got 771 properties here. This is going to take all 771 of those properties. It's going to look for the average years of ownership of those properties. And then if the average years of ownership for those properties that are selected, let's say it's 12 years, then the results that are returned are going to bring you back everything that is within 11 and 13 years, plus or minus of 1 year of that average year ownership. Because basically what that is doing is it's a lead generation. We're saying that, okay, out of these people, here's all the people that are within plus or minus 1 year of what the average year's ownership are. So chances are those folks are probably getting close to, potentially selling their home. There's also an empty nester filter. This will only bring back out of the properties that we have listed, anyone that has had 30 years of ownership in that property and the size of the property is 3+ bedrooms. Well, we've already added the filter for the 3+ bedrooms. Let's go ahead and turn on that filter. And now let's see, oops, out here. See if we've got any of those folks out of that 771, 149. So here's telling you, you've narrowed this down from the entire city of Madison. Now you're looking at folks that just own a property that's 3 bedrooms or larger with the sales price, or with the, where did we put that over here? Larger than 4,000 square feet, more than 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. And now we're saying there's 149 people that have owned their homes for more than 30 years. Once you get this narrowed down to the group that you're really wanting to focus in on by using any one of these filters, now you can download and view the records. And then from here, just a second to load, it will drop pins on where all of those are here over on the left on the map. And then over here in the list, you will be able to see each one of those properties identified. You're able to scroll over, you're able to see all of those pieces of detail here in the screen. But the other thing is that once you determine this is an area, this is what that you're wanting to focus in on, you can also export them. And when you go to export them, it will export it into an Excel spreadsheet for you. So if you use a different program for your marketing, you can download the distribution list right here. And then you can use this spreadsheet. So you can see while there's a lot of detail in the actual application, close that back up, a lot of detail here in the results from the application. When you export it, there's about 30 more rows of data here that you can leverage. Okay, it gives you all of the legal description over here, units, garage, fireplace, pool, zoning codes, tax rate areas, assessed value, market value. Okay, so there's just a lot more detail that you can get here when you actually export the results out of the system. You can also save your farms. Oops, right, hit the wrong button. Save your farm. So once you've identified it, you've got it drilled down into the group that area that you want to do, then you can just save that. You can name it whatever you want, and then you can save it. And I always suggest when you do that, put a date after it. So then you know kind of when you remember when you went back and originally created it. Once you save a farm, then you can go back and make edits. You can go back and start from scratch. Just you can do anything with it. You can continue working with it. But the other thing that I want to show you here is that if you come back once you've done the farm and you've saved the farm, you can click back in to edit your search. Now over here to the far right, you see Premier Data. This is mortgage info. So everything in these tabs is free of charge. So if you're doing any results, turning back results and exporting, everything is free. Once you click into that Premier Data, it's going to open up 3 additional tabs for mortgage info, leads, which are basically any reported or recorded filings. This is the full list. Know that in most counties, they don't have they don't record everything. This is a list for what is recorded across the entire country. So when you go in and you do your search, when you actually pull this little drop down, the only ones that are available in your area will be designated in the drop down for selection. So this is just a full price list of how much each of the leads cost, where when you come in here, then you could pick. You could see just bankruptcy leads or just people that have filings for affidavits of death. You can put the date of the filing, select the date, and then when you get that count, you'll actually have to pay to receive those results. And then the same thing for the phones and emails. So those 149 people, those empty nesters, I could take this exact form, I could come right here and I could select to say I want to get phone numbers or emails for both of them, or just phones or just emails. And when I select get count, it's basically going to tell me for those 149 properties, if you'll notice, phone numbers, it's a 7 cents per phone number found. And there's about a 75% return rate on phone numbers. Emails, there's about a 35% return rate, and it's 8 cents an email. So if they come back and they found an email and a phone number on each record, it would be 15 cents per record for both the phone and the email. So if they take 15 cents times the 149 properties, that says $22.35. You have to have enough money in your account to pay for those right here. But what actually happens is once you hit pay now and you actually have that money in your wallet, as soon as you pay now, then it will go out and it will actually search those 149 records, look for the phones and emails, and then the actual charge that you'll be assessed is only for the amount of phones and emails that are returned. So if it only returned emails on 10 of them, then you would only be charged 80 cents. If it returned phone numbers on 100 of them, then you would be charged $7. So it'd be $7.90 total, not $22.35. So granted, I know these cost, but a lot of times being able to get in contact with folks is super helpful. And then once you actually once you buy them, then you can actually get in and you'll be able to see, just pull this one open so you can see it really quick. Right here, phone numbers, a lot of times you'll get more than one. You'll see a landline, a mobile number, here's the email. So a lot of times there's more than one phone number. If there's 8 phone numbers here, you still only pay 7 cents. If it finds one, it's 7 cents. If it finds 8, it's 7 cents, and then it's 8 cents per email. So you'll be able to see those and export those also just the same way you can the lists. This application, there's so many different things that you can do here. In addition to farming, there's also statistics. So with statistics, it's kind of a similar, but you can really focus in, like if you're not sure, oops, let me cancel this out. It's not loading for me. There we go. Pull back out a little bit. Oh, where did I go? I ended up in Tennessee somehow. There we go. Let's get us back up here to Wisconsin. There we go. So statistics, that's the last thing I'll show you, and then we'll move over into marketing and calculators real quick. We're getting close to an hour. I apologize. I'm keeping you guys a little longer than anticipated today, but I wanted to at least get through some of the basics. So with statistics, let's say you wanted to determine like what the stats were in and around these couple of lakes. You could come in and you could use the area search, but for this demo, I'm going to use the boundaries. So I'm going to basically say I want to look and see what the stats are in this area. You can use that boundary search all the way down to there and say, I'm going to come all the way over here. I want to see what activity looks like in this area. So I've made my boundary, and I'm going to say get count. Statistics is cool because it will bring in every tract in that area that you've designated, and it will show you the number of homes, the average sales price. Okay, love it when things don't work the way they're supposed to. It will bring back in all of those items. Let me clear the search and try it one more time. We'll do a bigger one. Let's see if that works any better. But basically, you can, all the things that you see here, the number of homes, the average sales price, the turnover percentage in each of those tracts, and there we go. So it brings in all the tracts within that area that you've designated, and then you can see turnover ratio, number of homes, total sales, average sales price, average years owned, and the non-owner occupancy ratio. So I always say use these column headers to sort, where you can sort ascending to descending. So here, let me do it to, I'm bringing the highest turnover ratio to the top. National average for turnover ratio is usually under 5%. So any of them that you see that are above 5% are usually pretty good areas to focus in and market. So, but it allows you, because a lot of times, here's one that's 50%, it sold one of the 2 homes in that tract. So probably not a great one to start on. But this one, you've got 614 homes. This is a sales within a rolling 12 months. They've had 74 sales in a rolling 12 months, and the average sales price is $784,000. Huge high non-owner occupancy ratio. It's over 70%, but there's some huge dollars and a lot of sales. So this is just how you guys, again, as agents, can use this for lead generation. So just another way to focus in. And again, if you guys want more details around any of that, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Oops, wrong window. All right, let's see. Let's see how fast I can speed through this really quick. Marketing is, as I talked about with the business cards for Liz, these are all marketing products. So you guys can upload your own designs. So if you guys have used Canva or something in the past, you can upload your own designs. But we also have a catalog of thousands of templates that can be used for just about any type of deliverable that you'd like. So we have them for every theme, we have them for every holiday, we have them where you can select the number of photos, we have the EDDM, every door direct mail, we have where you can add QR codes to them, we've got sports schedules, we have them in multiple languages. And so you can basically see, and right here, postcards, flyers, letterheads, door hangers, brochures, folding cards, labels, envelopes, business cards, social media posts, tags, and multicultural deliverables. So just about anything and everything that you could want to print is here in the marketing application. And again, you can use our templates. These can be all branded with your branding, your broker, your logos, your headshot. This is all completely branded for you. You do it, you create it, you use the template and then add everything that you need to it. And then you can use, if you created a distribution list, a group that you wanted to mail to in farming, when you get to marketing to add your recipients, that saved farm can be used as your distribution list to send out postcards or mailers. And then last but not least, this last one here is calculators, and this is just a net sheet application. So we have multiple calculators that you guys can use. If you're not familiar or if you use another application, and if you're going to work with First American, I highly recommend getting in and taking a look at calculators, because what is nice about calculators is it connects to our First American comprehensive calculator, which plugs in the exact fees that you would have if you have this transaction at First American. So there's a seller net sheet, there's a buyer closing cost sheet, there's a net first. So if you have a seller that says, hey, I have to make $200,000 when I sell my house, you can reverse engineer it with all the fees and everything to come up with what the sales price needs to be. If you've got refinance, short sale, we don't see too many of those anymore. I think you guys probably still work with a lot of folks that they're trying to determine, is it better to rent or buy right now with the rates where they are. This can give a apples to apples comparison of whether they rent a property or if they should buy one. If there are multiple offers, you can compare up to 10 offers here. So if you're getting those in, it's an easy way to compare them and see ultimately which is the best offer for your customer or your client. This is just a title and escrow fee estimate. These are just our First American fees, and that's a closing date calculator. So most of our calculators are here. And again, the ones with the buyer and the seller, they are nice also because you can do them in multiple different languages. So if you have multicultural, anyone that speaks a different language, you can do that. You can customize your prints with your details. You can also manage an address book in here, which is probably a little bit deeper than we need to go, but you can also update settings. So for instance, if you know every single seller side transaction that you work, you have a transaction coordinator fee, or you have, certain fees that are associated with that transaction, you can come in here and you can lock down the actual default fees so that then every time you create a net sheet, you don't have to physically enter in each of those fees each time. So it does allow you to really build on future state when you're in here for the first few, as you start building from the word go. And that's it. and I could really probably spend 2 more hours going over all of the other millions of things that can happen in each of these applications, because what I went over with you today really just scrapes the very top surface. So once we get everybody in, if you guys see value and things that could be helpful for you and your business, Amy will take care of getting all your details, and then we can get your invites out. And then once you guys get in and start moving in it and working in it going forward, if you need more assistance on any one of the topics or applications, just reach back out to Amy and she can get with me and we can connect one-on-one, and I'm happy to help you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Christine.
You're welcome. Any questions from anybody?
No, that was really helpful to watch.
Okay,
Amy, we'll
awesome.
get you a list of everybody who wants to get signed up on that and who is on the call. And yeah.
Oh,
Cool.
okay, great. Thank you,
Awesome.
guys.
Yes,
Thank
thanks everybody.
you.
Have a great week. Stay
Okay,
cool. All right.
Thank you.
All right, thanks all.
Bye,
Bye,
guys.
Christine.
Bye-bye.